On the line right now, sharing his views on all of this, is Gerald Celente. Gerald does a program on PRN and precedes mine every Wednesday. Gerald, of course, for those of you who don't know him, is one of today's pioneers in trend strategy and identifying the developments of change occurring in our world. He founded Trends Research Institute up in Kingston and is the publisher of one of the finest journals, Trends Journal. I highly recommend it. It's been around since 1980. Gerald has since become one of the nation's most important diagnosticians and forecasters. So tune into his program, Trends This Week, heard every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nice to have you with us today, Gerald.
Well, thanks for having me, Gary.
Gerald, let's take us through, I'm just going to let you expound on this. Take us through why at the Dow at 30,360, whatever it is today, that's not necessarily good for everyone. And tell us who it works for and who it doesn't work for. Tell us about the fact that, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the article I just did on that we're bankrupt, the fact that we're not only not forgiving debt that we could and should, as we did with corporate predators, but not innocent bystanders. We're not helping them. But what's going to happen when people are so indebted as they are now that they can't buy food, they will commit suicide, they go to drugs, and we're dealing with none of the underlying primary causes. And Joe Biden, his entire administration, is a neoliberal war hawk cabinet, and they're not friendly to people who have debt. They are friendly with credit card companies that charge usurious rates and payday loans. So nothing is going to bode well for the average citizen that I can see. None of the 50 important progressive principles are going to be enacted. You're not going to get rid of the Glass-Steagall Act. You're not going to repeal Citizens United. You're not going to take money out of campaign financing. You're not going to stop all adventures around the world from our CIA and military industrial complex. You're not going to hold any of the major corporations accountable, and you're not going to stop the censoring by big tech platforms of the truth, yours or anyone else's. So how are we supposed to understand what's going to happen and how it's going to impact us? The forum is yours. Take your time.
I have to tell you, I've never been, I've been doing this since 1980. I've never been sadder in my life in looking at the future. I'm heartbroken. In 2020, the whole world changed in front of us. And without going into the details, because you do it all the time and the people that listen know the facts, this COVID war that has been launched against us, it makes no sense at all without going into, the 94% of the people at 2.6 pre-existing chronic conditions, and the recovery rate's 99.8%. They've sucked the joy out of life. All the businesses that have been destroyed. We're working all your life to build a restaurant, a bar, a shop, gone, dead, lost. But it's okay for Amazon. Hey, that's fine. It's okay for Walmart and Costco and Target. That's it. That's all right. I'm your governor. I'm your president. I'm your prime minister. I'm your chancellor. I will tell you what to do, and you will behave. Get back in your house. Don't go out. I'm in charge. And the same way they hailed Hitler, marched to Mussolini, and saluted Stalin, they're doing the same exact thing. People all masked up and in fear. And again, little kids freaked out, like they had us hiding under desks when we were kids in case an atom bomb went off, like that was going to make any difference. The same stupid garbage they're dumping on us now. You mentioned the Glass-Steagall Act. Oh, yeah, Bill Clinton. Oh, you lovely liberals love that murderer. Yeah, I smoked, but I didn't inhale Clinton. Yeah, sex isn't, no, I didn't have sex with that woman, Monica. Oh, yeah, that guy who gave us the Glass-Steagall Act. Do you know that the banks have shrunk now nearly 50% since the Glass-Steagall Act and the bigs got bigger? The bigs are in total charge. The markets, it makes perfect sense that the equity markets are flying high, hitting new records as the whole global economy is going down. And you nailed it with the Great Reset. It's not fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's in front of everybody's eyes. And the people are all marching to the orders. No protests are allowed. You're not allowed to do it. Of course, I had one, the 4th of July rally up here. And what I got for that. Oh, the hate I got. Oh, and by the way, we all died. We all died from the virus. This is not Gerald Celente. You go look, the Federal Reserve. What Federal Reserve? It's a criminal organization. Why are the banks going? Why are the stock markets going up? Let's go back to 2019. Yeah, let's go back to ancient history. Go back to September. They dumped in from September to January 2020, from September 2019 to January 2020, they dumped in $7 trillion into the repo markets. Oh, what's the repo market? Oh, nobody's heard of a repo market. Oh, that's where the gamblers get money to go gamble in the markets. And they're losing money. They need money, so we're going to dump money in there. Oh, and we're going to lower interest rates to 0% so they could borrow money and gamble for nothing. 88% of all the equities are owned by 10% of the population. 1%, the Buffetts, the Gates, the Bezos, the 1% own 52% of all the equities. We got to keep those markets going higher. We have to get them going higher. These are money junkies. All they want is more money. And that's all they're doing. They have destroyed the lives. This is unprecedented in history. You go out, the streets are dead at night. People are afraid to go out. You're under my control. And I've had it with these little boys and girls. How could anybody with a brain bigger than a pea look up to a Andy Cuomo, a little daddy's boy born on third base and thought he had home run, a nobody with an arrogant attitude. But you listen to him. Santa's going to be good to me this year for all I did. And this guy's the number one guy in America after Biden. Oh, we only have the death rate here. What? It's only the highest than many other countries in New York. And why are people dying from the virus? Again, obesity, type 2 diabetics, on and on. They have destroyed life like we've never seen before. I'm going to make this really clear to everybody. Unless you unite for freedom, peace, and justice, all aboard, next train to Auschwitz. You better support PRN. You better do what the people that are doing to tell you to do to get in good health, physically, mentally, and spiritually, so that you could become a fighter. And fighting is dead in this country, as well in many others. My Italian friends in Italy, you can't go visit your relatives that are maybe 30 miles away from you. You will not go out without a pass, and all the gendarmes, the military around the street checking you to see where you're going, when you're getting back, and what you're buying and where you're going. And it's like that going around the world. And as you said it, everything will be fine when the drug lords, the gang, they're a gang, the drug gang vaccinates you. Then it'll be okay for a while, but you're still under our control. That's what's going on. It's a murderous racket in front of our eyes that have destroyed the lives of hundreds of millions of people around the world, and probably the same amount of businesses and more people than that. Oh, and by the way, hey, aren't those crime rates that are going up great? Can't figure it out. Don't understand it. Yeah, again, we said this would happen back in March in the magazine. When people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And they're losing everything.
Do you believe that there will be any pushback by the citizens most likely to suffer?
It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men, said Samuel Adams. Gary, I am heartbroken. I will put my trend forecasting record up against anybody in the world. You show me your books, show me your magazine, and then we can start talking. I see the future. And the future is hell on earth. Look what they're doing to little kids. I see them walking down the street, little kids with masks on. Grow the hell up. They're not getting infected by this. They're not passing it on to anybody. The data is all there. It's there for anyone that wants it. I don't care what the data says. I believe my governor. I believe. I do not think for myself. It's not, if people don't unite, and that's what I'm saying to them to do, you better unite with PRN. You better unite with people like myself and others that we want. All we want is freedom, peace, and justice. What happened to this country that we got these little freaks telling us what to do? As I say, hey, little Andy Cuomo, you come over here and try to put a mask on me. You come over here and try to vaccinate me. No. Send your little COVID cops away. Do it man to man. And that's what look, if who's coming up with this crap? Oh, we have a herd immunity rate at blah, 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 blah percent. Let me get this straight. If you're vaccinated, then you're safe. Why do I have to get vaccinated? If you're wearing a mask, you're safe. Why do I have to wear a mask? I'll tell you why. Because we're in control and you'll do everything we tell you. Now get under that desk when the air raid siren goes off, because when that atom bomb goes off, you'll be safe under that desk. Do what I tell you.
Well, clearly you're seeing things from a perspective that the mainstream media, the government agencies, none of whom, by the way, have lost their paychecks or their pensions or their livelihood, and they seem to be very good at giving orders, not always in taking them, as we've seen, the contradictions. Take a look at a few places and tell me what you believe the outcome is going to be, because we have a reverse dynamic. It became so expensive to live in Silicon Valley, including in San Francisco, that you could pay $3,000 to $4,000 for a one-bedroom apartment to rent. The average person could never afford that. So you saw all of the working class people have to move way up, and as much as an hour and a half out of San Francisco, but drive in every day or commute in order to work in the San Francisco area. I know because every time I go to California, especially in Northern California, I go to San Francisco and I talk with the drivers who said they used to live in San Francisco. They can't afford to. One has to live almost an hour and a half away. That's 3 hours commuting a day. But now you have enormous amounts of homelessness. They have done nothing to help these people. You have enormous amount of crimes that are not violent crimes, but they're crimes against business owners. They go into a store, they take a shopping cart with them, they fill it up with whatever they want and go right out of the store. And if the store owner as much as touches them or blocks their exit, the store owner can be arrested. And then the person can go right outside the store and defecate right in front of the store to show contempt. Nothing will be done. No cops will come. Now that's the new norm. Now we filmed for a new film. In fact, I remember I filmed you last year up in Kingston for the new Brother Can You Spare a Dime, a sequel to Poverty Inc. And in that, I filmed how many blocks you could drive in Los Angeles and see nothing but 10 after 10 after, right in mainstream downtown. And it went from like 58 blocks to somewhere around 100 blocks and is increasing. What do you see happening to San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York City in the next 2 years?
That's just what we said would happen back in March when they locked up. The commercial real estate's dead. What office occupancy rates in New York City? What, 15%? No, this whole thing's going down big time. And if people are moving out, the prices are going up. Kingston, where I am, Bloomberg did a study. They went up here the highest of all of America, 18.1%. But the biggest story is this, and you were talking about it before, couple of things. China. The 20th century was the American century. The 21st century is the Chinese century. The business of America's war, the business of China's business. They're taking over everything. We've even went the Chinese way. We used to make fun of them for wearing those masks. Oh, and of course, the reason they wear them is because of air pollution. Oh, and by the way, the study just came out of India. Only 1.67 million people died in 2019 of air pollution. But you got to watch out for that COVID. You better get on the, you better watch out for that. Only 1.5 million died from air pollution in China. Number two, another thing you were talking about, very big. Janet Yellen is now going to be the Treasury Secretary under Biden. Janet Yellen, wasn't she the head of the Federal Reserve? You got it. The banks are controlling our life. The banksters. The same one, we weren't allowed to celebrate the holiday for the Prince of Peace called Christmas. You couldn't, no singing, no carols. But wasn't that the guy that drove the money changers out of the temple? Yeah, and then they put him on a cross a couple of days later. Yeah, that one. All right? That's who's in charge. San Francisco, New York City, crime rates going to keep continuing to go up. Businesses going bankrupt. This is not coming back. It's not coming back for a long time. Without tourism, you have nothingism. You're down the city. What? Midtown is dead town. No neon lights shining on Broadway. You got to close your restaurant. But you can go into Costco, Walmart. You could do and you could work like a slave in Slavelandia and Amazon, but close your restaurant down. No, it's not coming back. And again, violence, crime is going to escalate dramatically.
Well, thank you for such a wonderful picture, Gerald.
Oh, look, Gary, it is no. People better fight. People better fight.
I understand. I agree. People are going to have to stand up, or they're going to be crushed down. And I'm in full accord with you on that, Gerald. It's just I come from a little different octave range than you do.
Yeah, well, I'm a Napolitano from the Bronx. Different vibe.
Gerald, I look forward to seeing you in person when I come back up to New York, and thank you very much for your insights. It's one of those pills that is bitter, but we need it. We need this truth so we can move out of these cities, stop being on their grid, stop paying attention to their rules, and stop complying. We need to be non-compliant. We need to challenge them. And a lot of orthodox doctors and scientists are doing just that. I've never seen in my lifetime tens of thousands of highly respected mainstream doctors and scientists fighting the mainstream Anthony Fauci scientists and doctors. So we have really got a great ally, at least on the science being corrupted. They're still pro-vaccine, and in all other areas, I have no idea what their views are, their politics or anything else. But boy, they're fighting back on what they know are lies, and that's what we keep hitting them with. I appreciate you being on. Thanks a lot, Gerald. Gerald Celente.